Guys, so I have received many questions from tons of people about how I got the car, how I was able to afford it, what do I do for a living, what is my story. Today, I will be sharing with you my life. If you don't care about my personal life, you can skip to this section right here. We can jump straight into the financials. But before we get there, what do I do for a living? How do I make my money? Very simple. Dogecoin. I fell into the trap. I rode that train to 70 cents right before it was aired on SNL, and I sold it, and there you go. Just kidding. This video was filmed after I got the car, so obviously Dogecoin wasn't a thing back then. Okay, anyways. Yeah, so it all started when my parents bought me little toy cars when I was growing up. And so obviously, just like a lot of guys, sparked the love for cars in itself. The thing that I realized that maybe differentiated me a little bit from most people is my obsession with Mustangs, and I really liked them. Not just because of the history behind it, but how widespread the production was. Then I saw Fast and Furious, Tokyo Drift. I fell in love with the 350Z. Iron Man, R8, that was also another dream. Cars wasn't really the main topic of my life growing up when I was little. I actually focused the majority of my time in video games. I played games like RuneScape, MapleStory, League of Legends, Overwatch. Over the time progression of years, these games really fulfilled the emptiness that I had that I couldn't get from my friends, from my social life. I transferred middle schools in 7th grade. I wanted to blend in with the crowd. I wanted to be accepted as part of society. It was hard to go a day without someone making a racist remark, like saying, hey, you're a banana because you're white on the inside and you're yellow on the outside. I was seen as different from most people. Even the hair that I had, because it was black, at my elementary school, people, they wanted to touch it because it's so exotic and it's not something that they've seen before. I think the lowest point of my life was when I was a junior in high school. And when I say lowest point, I wouldn't mean in terms of happiness. I would say in terms of the direction where I wanted my life to go. I was single, I went to parties, I met a lot of people. I was very distracted from my educational studies. I was distracted from what I really wanted to do in the future. There was one tipping point where I remember my dad scolding me because I wasn't doing well on the SAT and I couldn't get into Georgia Tech, which was my target school at the time. And then my college counselor said it was a very far reach because of my low ACT score. I had a 24 at that time. That made me realize that what I was doing obviously was in the right direction, but for some reason there was an inside part of me that focused more on the school aspect of things, and so I did study, and I got a higher score on the ACT, and got into Georgia Tech. That was a very, very successful point in my life, and trust me, that also isn't anything special that gets to where I am today. What is really special, I would say, that differentiated me in some way, and that you could also do for yourself, is build a work ethic. Build a work ethic, build habits, do things every day that improves you as a person. When I went to college, I barely went to any parties. I had a girlfriend at that time, and together we focused on our studies, okay? My obsession towards cars became more prominent. I wanted an R8. I wanted a Lambo. I had posters on my wall. I had wallpapers of just R8s. I would spend hours editing photos of an R8 and just dreaming of getting any kind of supercar, a Lambo, a Gallardo, the cheapest kind, anything that would have represented some form of success, right? But here's the thing, if you want to succeed, you can't rely on these external factors. I did it at that time and I didn't know how far I could pursue that. There's a quote by Aristotle, okay? It says, "You are what you do repeatedly, therefore success is not defined by an act, but a habit." That itself can be interpreted in so many ways, but also is so deeply rooted in what I do every day, and it has brought me to where I am today. For people who ask me, hey, what do you do for a living? You can't ask, what do you do for a living? That doesn't explain how I got to the car. Yes, I know I haven't explained it yet. Okay, so here we go. I maxed out the credits that I could take every semester. I met some really great people who motivated me. I ended up taking 3 internships. Going into college, I actually came into Georgia Tech with only 4 credits. So in terms of even comparing with my friends who took AP classes and actually took them seriously, I was already behind. So my goal was to really make the best use of my time in college, to get out of there as quick as possible with the most experience as possible. I took up 3 internships. I interned at Manhattan Associates. With that alone, I made about 20K. Then I interned at Panasonic Automotive, made another 20K, maybe 15K. I also interned at Amazon, which was another very big source of money. By the end of me finishing my 3 internships, I had about 40 to 50K to work with. Supercar ownership doesn't happen overnight. Obviously, you know that. It's built off of fundamental principles of financial literacy. Over my college years, yes, I made money. I've gained experience through my computer science major. I invested them into stock markets and I learned about how to trade. So you read books. I would highly suggest The Intelligent Investor because that is pretty much the blueprint for how to understand stock markets, the history behind it, philosophical concepts, and actually how to trade, right? The idea of value investing versus speculation, a very important concept for most of you Dogecoin investors here. I went out of college a brand new person, but I graduated in 3.5 years because I took every summer as an opportunity to either catch up on classes, to pick up another internship, be involved with research, do my own projects. I created a website that would help our local gym. I picked up a full-time job at Amazon. And with that, I had a sign-on bonus of about $30,000. I came into Seattle with the mindset of trying to save everything that I had. I wanted to save 100% of my Amazon income. What I did was utilize the existing skills that I have. I picked up a side job as a pianist at a church. I eventually picked up another job as a TA because I did an online master's through Georgia Tech. And with one of the courses that I took, I applied to become a TA and I got paid for it. So even just those 2 jobs alone, I was able to supplement all my expenses and then save 100% of my Amazon income. Now, this is where financial literacy comes into play. With 100K cash, what most people would do is pay for a Gallardo with $100,000. Here's the thing, most people don't understand that you can grab a loan to pay for a car. If people say,
okay, if you're gonna have to get a loan for a supercar, then technically you can't afford it.
If you establish a lifestyle for yourself, because I minimize expenses, right? I don't indulge in luxuries outside of the car world. I don't care about the clothes that I wear, food that I eat. I don't care about where I live. Everything was focused on the car. It's the obsession behind it. I took that $100,000, broke it into 2 50K. With one portion of my 50K, I broke that also into 2 25Ks. I bought 2 houses with that. With the remaining 50K, I got a loan of another 50K. So I had 50K cash, another 50K loan. That's how I bought my first Gallardo at the age of 22. With a 50K loan on the car, I had about a $900 monthly car payment. With the other 2 houses that I bought, those 2 portions of 25K served as a down payment for a house. So yes, I opened up 2 more mortgages to buy 2 houses. Now, when I rented out those 2 houses, I received about $500 cash flow on each house. That cash flow paid for the loan that I had on my car. At the end of the day, I had $100,000 cash. I could have bought the Lambo for $100,000. Over time, that car would have depreciated and my money would have been decreasing in value. With this system that's set up, I'm leveraging assets where my houses will grow in value. When I'm renting out the rooms, that rental income pays for the equity in my house. There's tax deductions that you can make for interest, property tax, utilities. Those all benefit and raise the value of my money. Now you're gonna ask me, okay, well, see, here's the difference. You had $100,000 cash.
How do I even make that $100,000?
Minimize your expenses. When you minimize your expenses, you're making money. Don't go out and eat, cook, right? When you have nothing going for you in the beginning, What you have that's valuable is your time. Focus your time on picking up a side job. Don't focus on the bigger picture yet. You have to take smaller steps. Backtracking 1 second. Racism was a huge thing. I was never really accepted as part of society. I was also very awkward. I mostly played video games. I didn't really care about socializing. I didn't really care about people in that case. Yeah, I wasn't the most successful in school either. I didn't care about school. All I wanted to do was play video games. I didn't have a vision for what I wanted to do in the future, especially going to college. I went to Georgia Tech because it was a good college, obviously, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. What really started everything was in college. And actually looking back now, I realized that the little things growing up pieced together. I chose computer science because I loved video games. And so video games and computers, they're related, software is related. My love for cars really started to become an obsession. Really, it just ingrained in my subconscious mind. And quite frankly, if you want to buy a supercar at a young age, I really think this is one of the paths that most people should take. Obviously, there are so many paths. You can read books, you can watch the Stradman's video. I know he flipped cars before he actually was able to get his Gallardo, and you can flip cars if you know a lot about the mechanics behind it, wholesale, buy that, and then sell it at a higher cost, right? For me, my specialty was in education, making use of my time, minimizing expenses, and building great habits over time that become valuable assets. I took Friday nights as an opportunity for me to stay home and study and read books and learn about the stock market and see what new ideas are out there while people were partying. There's a level of sacrifice that I made. If you want to learn how to become successful at a young age, there are abnormalities and there are different weights that you now need to evaluate whether or not it's truly something you want to do. For me, I sacrificed my social life, my health, and sleep. At that time, I was young. I could afford that. In social life, it didn't really mean much to me, although now I do see the value in networking. However, if you can prove to everyone that you inherently have value, you don't need to rely on people to bring you value. You provide that value. When I finally got the Gallardo, the assets are paying for my liabilities. I did have $100K cash, but there are ways to make $100,000. You exchange your time for money, exchange your time for knowledge. You're going to need to focus on wealth creation, not wealth management. Wealth creation is you need to take that $2,000 that you have currently. How are you going to invest that $2,000 along with your effort and time to make it $100,000? Through the stock market alone, through 401k, retirement savings, you're not going to be able to ever reach that point unless you build more sources of income. That is the key to reach that first 100K. That's an accumulation of all the knowledge and experience that I've received over time, and you can't just get that overnight. Success is defined not by an act, but a habit. At the end of the day, when you say, hey, what do you do to afford the car? It's not,
hey, I put 10K in a Dogecoin and overnight it 10x and I got the car.
It's, hey, I had an obsession in college. I didn't prioritize my social life. I sacrificed my sleep and health. I worked my ass off. I got 3 internships and I read books and I converted 50 to 70K, and with the full-time job that I spent years preparing for, I was able to finally diversify my cash into assets that paid for my liabilities. This is something that you're never gonna get from a supercar owner when you're just gonna ask, hey, what do you do for a living? That's not gonna paint the whole picture, at least for me. With that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more of this kind of format, kind of like a Q&A or just me talking to the camera, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to smash that like button. It feels very weird saying this. I appreciate the recent uptrend in my videos. It's kind of motivated me to make more, and I hope this gives you a better insight into how to afford a supercar. So with that being said, hope to see you guys next time.